Sergeant Shine cleans away all kinds of smears and grime, makes your surfaces look so sublime. So let's all get some Sergeant Shine. McCartney was right. He really had heard that tune before. Well, you see what this means, don't you? If Elizabeth's granddad wrote that jingle in the 50s, and I had the proof right in front of me, Elizabeth is owed a shitload of money, sorry, father, a shed load of money, by the Beatles. From now on, yesterday will be credited Lennon/McCartney/Elizabeth's granddad. I'm no lawyer, but that's got to make her a millionaire, hasn't it? Got to. Well, news this big. I could deliver that in person, surely, despite everything, my supposed death, the restraining order, all of that. News like this would wash it all away, wouldn't it? She might even think we could make another go of it. I can't tell you how excited I was, Father. I was trembling as I carefully removed the wax cylinder from the phonograph and stored it in the crate. Those things are so delicate, I didn't dare play it again until we'd had a copy made. And I was still trembling as I reached up to remove the oil lamp from where I'd perched it on a beam. And I was trembling as I knocked it off the beam, and it smashed to the floor, and the oil poured out and erupted in flames, and the flames jumped almost instantly to the nearest section of pipe lagging. When the lagging caught fire, I knew I was in trouble. In seconds, the problem had gone from a little pile of burning oil to big, big flames. They were spreading fast, and the network of pipes meant they'd soon encompass the entire attic. I needed to get out now. But that was easier said than done. This was an old house. Everything was dry, and most of it was wood. I was basically standing inside a big pile of kindling. Already bits of lagging were falling from the pipes and igniting whatever was underneath. Worryingly, even sections of the insulation on the floor were starting to burn. Worrying because I was standing on one of them. The beams were burning now, putting up a wall of flame between me and the hatch. I could hardly see through the smoke, but the blazes rising up from the mattress and odd items of furniture were hard to miss. There was a fiery shape in the corner that I realised was a pile of boxes, and my heart ran cold when I remembered what they contained. Every one of those boxes was filled with shaving foam and hairspray, pressurised aerosols. I was in big trouble. I was going to have to throw myself through the flames if I wanted to make it out alive. There was an old sheepskin coat lying right beside me, so I wrapped it around my head, said a silent prayer, and made a leap of faith. I crashed down beside the hatch and threw away the coat, which was now on fire. Better that than my head. As I scuttled down the ladder, I heard a series of explosions, almost exactly like a fireworks display, and I knew those aerosols must have gone up. Then there was a crash, and I only found out what that was when I reached the bottom of the ladder and turned around. A section of the floor had caved in. Now there was fire on the landing. Needless to say, it was right between me and the stairs. I had to go out the window. It's a good job I know Elizabeth's house so intimately. Even through the spreading smoke, I made it easily to the window in the bedroom, where I knew I could drop down onto the flat roof over the kitchen, then a short jump onto the wall. I stopped in the drive to look back at the house. It was an inferno. It was maybe 3 minutes since I knocked over the lamp. Now there were flames in every window, and in the kitchen, on the table, was a bag of shopping. That hadn't been there before. Elizabeth had come home. I wanted to run. The thought of going back into that building, well, it was only marginally less awful than the thought of Elizabeth burning to death. And I was partially responsible, in a way. I had to save her. I really did try, Father. I kicked the front door in. I entered the inferno. Again I was surrounded by flames and thick black smoke. I had to throw myself to the floor just so I could breathe. I scrambled around and shouted her name, but there was no reply and the flames were getting bigger. I didn't want to leave her, Father. I really didn't, but I had no choice. If I didn't get out now, I'd be trapped for good. I made it back, just to the front door. I felt terrible leaving the house while Elizabeth was still inside. I tried not to think about her skin bubbling and melting from her blackened corpse. And then I noticed Quentin's car. He must have just arrived. Maybe he'd succeed where I failed. And sure enough, a few seconds later, out of the smoke billowing from the doorway, Quentin emerges, head to toe in ash, Elizabeth over his shoulders. She looks barely conscious, but definitely alive. He puts her in the back of the car and drives away, I assume, to the hospital. I hadn't killed her. That was something. But I'd come close. I'd burnt down her house. And I destroyed the only proof that Paul McCartney owes her a fortune. The only reason she was alive now was Quentin, the man I thought was no good for her. If I needed any further proof that Elizabeth doesn't need me, this is it. Quentin's just a normal, decent guy, isn't he? He went to the trouble of writing her will. That's more than I ever did for her. I'll have to do it again now, of course. Not that she's got much left to leave. He can forget about his wax cylinder records for... Oh, Jesus Christ! Jesus fucking Christ, Father! Oh, Jesus Christ, this is too... Look, I've just realised something. The will... When I read it, I thought there was something strange about the way it was worded, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I think I've just twigged. The bit about the wax cylinders, it didn't just say, I leave my wax cylinder records to Quentin Finnemore. It said something like, I transfer full ownership of the wax cylinders and the recordings and intellectual property thereupon. At the time, I figured it was just legalese, but why mention intellectual property without coming out and saying it? He's giving himself copyright, and that changes everything. For a start, it means he must know about that jingle, which means the one I destroyed can't be the only copy. And it means Quentin wasn't just some do-gooding will writer who happened to meet Elizabeth in the hospital. This is all a ploy to get his hands on her fortune. It's got to be, hasn't it? Why give himself copyright if he's not got his eye on the Beatles' windfall? And what's he going to do? Get her to sign the will, then wait 50 years for her to die of natural causes? Or is he planning to speed things along? He's going to kill her. It's the only thing that makes any sense. Jesus, he'd probably done it already if she'd signed the will. That's all he's waiting for. Thank God she broke her arm. And that was my doing. She fell off the stage because she was freaked out by the things I did. I saved her life. But only until it heals. After that, Quentin will have her sign the will, and then... I'm the only one who knows what he's doing. I'm the only person who can save her. Elizabeth needs me. It's everything I always wanted.